Low self-confidence does not begin with failure. It begins with a moment where you learn to doubt yourself, a moment so small you barely noticed it at the time. Maybe you spoke up and were laughed at. Maybe you tried and failed, and no one showed you how to recover. Maybe you were compared to someone else and quietly decided you were less, and from that moment on, something changed. You didn't stop trying completely. You didn't give up on life. You adapted. You learned to hesitate. You learned to observe instead of participate. You learn to protect yourself from embarrassment by staying quiet, staying safe, staying invisible. This is how low self-confidence really forms, not through one big trauma, but through thousands of small retreats. And each retreat teaches your nervous system the same lesson. Do not risk, do not stand out, do not trust yourself. You don't wake up weak. You wake up careful, and careful feels smart. Careful feels responsible. Careful feels mature, but careful slowly becomes a cage. You start rehearsing everything in your head, every sentence, every decision, every possible outcome. You overthink because you don't trust instinct anymore, and instinct dies when it is ignored long enough. You watch other people take chances and wonder what they have that you don't. You assume they're braver, smarter, more confident, but the truth is simpler. They just acted before doubt finished talking. Low self-confidence convinces you that you need to feel ready first, but ready never comes. So you wait, you delay, you prepare endlessly, and preparation becomes procrastination dressed as responsibility. Meanwhile, something inside you grows restless. You feel it at night, that quiet dissatisfaction, that sense that you're capable of more, but trapped by something invisible. That invisible thing is not lack of ability, it is lack of self-trust. Confidence is not believing you'll win. It's believing you can survive losing. And no one ever taught you that. You were taught to avoid mistakes, to avoid embarrassment, to avoid discomfort. So you learn to associate confidence with perfection. And since perfection is impossible, confidence always felt out of reach. Let me tell you something important. Every confident man you admire has failed publicly. He has been judged. He has been embarrassed. He has been rejected. The difference is not that he didn't feel fear. The difference is that fear did not stop him. Low self-confidence is not the absence of courage. It is courage that was punished once and never trained again. You learned that trying could hurt, so you stopped trying fully. You show up at half power. You speak at half volume. You dream at half intensity. And then you wonder why life feels dull. Your mind is constantly asking, what if I fail? What if they judge me? What if I'm not enough? But it never asks the most dangerous question of all. What if I stay like this forever? That question scares you because deep down you know comfort is costing you your future. Low self-confidence makes you shrink your goals so you don't have to face disappointment. But shrinking goals shrinks identity. And identity erosion is slow, silent, and brutal. You don't hate yourself, you just don't fully respect yourself because respect comes from action, from courage, from keeping promises to yourself. And for too long, you have broken those promises quietly. You told yourself you'd start. You told yourself you'd speak up. You told yourself you'd change. And then you didn't, not because you're lazy, but because fear was louder than your values. Every broken promise weakens self-belief. Every avoided challenge reinforces doubt. This is how confidence is lost, not all at once, but day by day. And here is the most important truth of this chapter. Nothing is wrong with you. You are not broken. You are not inferior. You are not beh. You are simply living with an untrained mind and an untrained nervous system. And anything untrained can be rebuilt, but rebuilding requires something you've been avoiding. Discomfort, not chaos, not destruction, controlled discomfort, the kind that strengthens instead of overwhelms, the kind that proves slowly but undeniably that you are capable. This is where your journey actually begins, not with confidence, but with courage, because courage comes first, and confidence always follows. The most dangerous battle you will ever fight is not with the world. It is with the voice inside your own head. That voice knows your history. It remembers every failure, every embarrassment, every moment you hesitated, and it uses those memories as weapons. Low self-confidence is not just insecurity. It is an internal war between who you are now and who you know you could become. And that war is exhausting because the voice does not scream. It whispers. It says, not yet. It says, you're not ready. It says, what if they laugh? It says, stay safe. And you listen because that voice sounds logical, but logic without courage becomes a prison. This is how the internal war begins. You want more from life, but you also want to avoid pain. You want growth, but you fear exposure. You want respect, but you fear judgment. So you stand still, and standing still feels harmless. But it is not, because while you stay still, time moves forward. Opportunities move on. Other people move ahead. And comparison begins. You look around and see others succeeding, speaking confidently, taking risks, living boldly, and your mind starts asking cruel questions. Why not me? What do they have that I don't? What's wrong with me? Comparison is poison to confidence because you are comparing. You're behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. You don't see their fear. You don't see their failures. You don't see their private doubts. You only see the result. And the mind fills in the gaps with self-blame. Low self-confidence feeds on comparison because comparison removes context. It ignores timing. It ignores struggle. It ignores growth. It convinces you that confidence is a personality trait, not a skill. So instead of training confidence, you label yourself as not confident. And labels are dangerous because once you label yourself, you behave in alignment with that label. I'm just not confident. I've always been shy. That's just how I am. Those sentences feel harmless. They lock you into an identity you did not consciously choose. The internal war intensifies when fear of judgment enters. You imagine eyes watching you. You imagine mistakes being remembered forever. You imagine rejection defining you. But here's what fear of judgment really is. It is fear of being seen before you feel ready, and you will never feel ready because readiness is not a feeling, it is a decision. The mind wants certainty before action. Life rewards action before certainty. That is the conflict. So you rehearse instead of act. You consume content instead of creating. You plan instead of executing, and the voice says, at least you're being smart. But deep down, you know the truth. You are avoiding. Avoidance feels safe in the short term, but in the long term, it becomes self-betrayal, and self-betrayal destroys confidence faster than failure ever could. The internal war also shows up in perfectionism. You tell yourself you won't start until everything is perfect, until you feel confident, until conditions are ideal. But perfectionism is not about excellence. It is about control. It is the attempt to eliminate risk entirely, and risk is the price of growth. Every confident man you admire once looked foolish, once felt unqualified, once acted without certainty. They did not wait for confidence, they moved with fear. That is the secret, confident. CE is not the absence of fear. It is the willingness to move despite fear. But your internal voice says, if you fail, it will confirm what you already fear. And this is the core of low self-confidence. You are not afraid of failing. You are afraid of confirming the belief that you are not enough. So you protect the belief by never testing it. But untested beliefs control your life. You don't challenge them, so they feel true. The internal war continues in moments of silence. At night, when distractions fade, when the noise stops, that's when the dissatisfaction speaks. That quiet feeling that you're living below your potential, that you are capable of more discipline, more courage, more intensity. That feeling is not your enemy, it is your future calling you. But instead of answering it, you numb it with distractions, with comfort, with excuses. And the voice says, tomorrow becomes next week becomes next year. And suddenly you are older, still doubting, still waiting. This is how confidence dies slowly, not through failure, through delay. The internal war can only be won when you stop trying to silence the voice and start challenging it. Not with positive thinking, with action. Action is the only language fear understands. When you act despite doubt, you send a message to know, I am capable of discomfort. And each time you send that message, the voice weakens. It does not disappear, but it loses authority because authority comes from obedience. And today you stop obeying fear automatically. This chapter is not about victory. It is about awareness, seeing the patterns, naming the excuses, understanding the enemy, because you cannot defeat what you do not understand. And now you understand this. The war is not outside you, it is inside you, and the battlefield is your daily decisions. In the next part, you will learn how discipline, pain, and self-respect become weapons in this war, and how controlled struggle transforms insecurity into strength. But for now, remember this, your mind is loud because you have been quiet, and the moment you start acting, the balance of power shifts. Confidence is not rebuilt through comfort, it is rebuilt through discipline, and discipline begins where excuses end. Most men believe discipline is about forced punishment or extreme willpower. It is not. Discipline is about identity repair. It is the process of becoming a man you can trust again. Low self-confidence exists because over time you stopped trusting yourself. You said you would act, and you didn't. You said you would change, and you delayed. You said you would try, and you avoided discomfort, not loudly, quietly, and your mind noticed. Your brain keeps a record of your behavior. It does not care about intentions. It cares about evidence, and for too long the evidence has said, this man retreats when things get hard. That belief becomes your self-image. Discipline is how you overwrite that belief, not with dramatic transformation. With boring consistency, waking up when you don't feel like it, training when motivation is gone, doing the task you've been avoiding, speaking the truth when silence feels safer. Each disciplined act is a vote for a new identity, and identity is the root of confidence. This is where pain enters the story. Pain is not the enemy. Avoided pain is, there are two types of pain in life, the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. One strengthens you. The other weakens you. Men with low self-confidence have usually chosen short-term comfort for a long time. And comfort always collects interest. The interest is self-doubt. The interest is frustration. The interest is quiet self-contempt. But the moment you choose controlled pain, the balance shifts. Controlled pain is chosen difficulty. It is voluntary struggle. It is doing hard things on purpose so life doesn't break you when difficulty arrives uninvited. Training your body when it hurts. Staying focused when distractions call. facing conversations you've been avoiding, holding standards when it would be easier to lower them. This pain builds something powerful, self-respect. Self-respect is not confidence, but confidence grows from it. You cannot respect yourself if you constantly betray yourself, and betrayal doesn't require dramatic failure. It only requires avoidance. Self-respect is earned when your actions match your words. And once you respect yourself, doubt loses its grip. You may still feel fear, but fear no longer controls you because you trust yourself to act anyway. This is why disciplined men walk differently, speak differently, decide differently, not because they are better than others, but because they are no longer negotiating with their weaknesses. Low self-confidence keeps you stuck in negotiation. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll start when I feel ready. I'll try when conditions are better. Discipline ends negotiation. It says, this is who I am now. And identity removes hesitation. Let's talk about building discipline the right way. Not extremes, not burnout, not obsession. Start small, but make it non-negotiable. One daily action that proves you keep your word. It could be physical training. It could be focused work. It could be learning a skill. It could be waking up earlier. The action itself matters less than the consistency. Consistency trains the nervous system. Your body learns. I do what I say, and that belief becomes confidence. Discipline also teaches emotional control. You stop being ruled by moods. You stop waiting to feel good to act. You act because it is time to act. That is power. Most men don't lack ability. They lack control, and control creates calm. Calm creates presence. Presence creates confidence. This is why discipline feels uncomfortable at first. It removes the illusion of control your excuses gave you, but in exchange it gives you real control. The man who can control his actions can control his future. And now comes a hard truth. No one respects a man who doesn't respect himself. Not fully. And deep down you know this. You want confidence, but what you really want is dignity. To look at yourself without disappointment. To know you're doing the work. That feeling cannot be faked. It is earned. Every disciplined day adds weight to your character. Every avoided task weakens it. This is not about being perfect. It is about being honest. Honest about what you avoid. Honest about what scares you. Honest about the man you want to become. Discipline is how you close the gap between intention and action. And when that gap closes, confidence rises naturally. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly, solidly, unshakably. You don't need hype. You need structure. You don't need motivation. You need standards. And standards are enforced by discipline. In the final part, you will learn how to permanently rebuild your identity, destroy fear of judgment, and step into unshakable confidence that does not depend on mood, approval, or external validation. But understand this now. Confidence is not built by believing in yourself. It is built by becoming someone you believe in, and that work begins with discipline. Confidence that lasts is not built on emotion. It is built on identity, and identity is not who you say you are. It is who you prove yourself to be repeatedly. For most of your life, you've been living from an outdated self-image, a version of you formed by past mistakes, old fears, and moments where you decided it was safer to shrink. That version kept you protected, but it is no longer serving you. Unshakable confidence begins when you consciously decide to let that identity die, not violently, not dramatically, quietly, through consistent action. You do not wake up confident one morning. You wake up aligned with your values, aligned with your standards, aligned with the man you are becoming, and alignment silences doubt. The biggest mistake men make is trying to feel confident before acting, but confidence is a lagging indicator. It comes after proof, so you stop asking, how do I feel today? And start asking, what does the man I respect do today? That question changes everything, because the man you respect does not wait for permission. He does not beg for approval. He does not negotiate with fear. He moves. Identity is built through standards, not goals. Goals can be delayed. Standards are enforced daily. A standard is how you behave when no one is watching, how you speak to yourself, how you handle discomfort, how you respond to resistance. You do not rise to your goals, you fall to your standards. So raise them. Decide what you will no longer tolerate from yourself. No more chronic hesitation, no more self-disrespect, no more avoiding the work you know you must do. This is not aggression toward others. This is discipline toward yourself. Now let's talk about fear of judgment once and for all. Fear of judgment survives because you care more about being liked than being aligned. But the moment you choose self-respect over approval, fear collapses. Because judgment cannot touch a man who knows why he acts. People will judge you whether you hide or stand tall. So you choose the judgment that comes with growth. The confident man is not liked by everyone. He is respected by himself, and that respect radiates. Unshakable confidence does not announce itself. It does not posture. It does not over-explain. It is calm, grounded, present. It comes from knowing I can handle whatever happens next. That belief is built through experience, through failure survived, through rejection endured, through discomfort faced. Confidence is not optimism, it is resilience. Now understand this deeply. You do not need to eliminate insecurity. You need to outgrow it. Insecurity fades when it no longer matches your behavior, when your actions contradict your doubts. Doubts lose credibility. You become too disciplined to listen to them, too aligned to obey them, too focused to negotiate with them. This is the moment you stop shrinking, not because you feel fearless, but because fear no longer decides for you. You stop waiting to be chosen. You choose yourself. You stop asking for permission. You take responsibility. You stop consuming motivation. You become the proof. And here is the final truth of this journey. Confidence is not about dominance over others. It is about mastery over yourself. The man who controls his actions, his reactions, and his standards is free from validation, free from comparison, free from the need to impress, and freedom is the highest form of confidence. So today, draw the line. Decide who you are no longer willing to be. Decide what you stand for. Decide the standards you will live by. Then live them, not perfectly, but consistently, because consistency creates identity. Identity creates confidence, and confidence creates momentum. You were never meant to live small. You were never meant to doubt yourself endlessly. You were never meant to wait forever. This is not motivation. This is a reminder. You already know what to do. Now do it and never shrink again.